Hi, this is Joe Davis with GotBaseballCards.com. I'm a lifelong sports card collector and hobby veteran for over 30 years. We are very excited to offer you this channel to provide you the finest in sports card news and entertainment. Thanks for watching. Welcome back, everyone. It's Sports Cards with Joe
and Doug.
And Doug, we are back in the studio today. And, you know, we got a lot of interest in that last discussion we did about SGC cards. And today I see we have a beautiful array of PSA cards laid out.
I'm telling you what, I wish this display was in my own home. These are some amazing cards you got here, Joe. I just want to point out this one 1954 Red Heart Mickey Mantle is just amazing. I've never seen one of those
One
before,
of my favorites.
let alone it graded out in a near mint 7. Few other special cards in here. Michael Jordan rookie, PSA 9. Amazing mantle over in the corner there next to you.
6.5, 52 Bowman Mantle.
Incredible. Jackie Robinson.
Rookie, yeah.
Right here and right here. 48,
And first
49.
Bowman, yeah.
And then really I love the pastel coloring on the 51 Bowman rookie here with beautiful clouds in the background. I love the old stadium. So there's just an amazing amount of cards here. A nice little backdrop for a discussion about PSA grading.
Yep, because we got so many comments. And, you know, I have seen a lot of comments. I've seen a lot of questions. And I've seen a lot of new people subscribing, which, of course, we greatly appreciate. And thank you to all of you who have joined us. And, you know, as I thought about Doug, a lot of people don't know our backgrounds in the hobby. I know for those who don't know Doug, I'm going to start with Doug today. Doug, you've got a decades-long experience in the business world. And then I still remember Doug was one of our first customers at our first little 500-foot store in Avondale back in 1991. And now, were you only doing hockey then? Or?
No, I was only doing baseball back then, believe it or not. I've changed my collecting habits over the years fairly often, but baseball was what I went to Joe for. I can remember, you know, tracking down some of those sets in those years, trying to get a complete set of it. But as a collector, yes, I've been in the hobby for a long time. I've seen basically graded cards being almost not even germane to the conversation. We would grade cards every once in a while, but it really wasn't the main focus of the collecting hobby.
Right.
And I can't tell you, it probably stayed that way, pretty steady pace to the card grading industry up until 3 years ago or so, when it shot up like a rocket.
Right.
How about you, Joe? Maybe people might not know about your history as well. Can you tell them a little bit about you?
Well, how long do we have? We do have a lot of new subscribers, and some of you don't know our history. And I've been a collector ever since I started in 1976. Opened my first packs of cards then. Got really serious in high school, towards the end of high school. Started going to shows in '87. Then by '88, I was in college, and I was not only setting up at shows, but I was promoting shows in the Southeast at multiple places. Then 1991 opened our first store out in Avondale. We had a little tiny 500-foot space out in Avondale. And then, you know, over the years, we've been blessed to grow both in size. We now have our own 10,000-foot building in Loganville, Georgia. Over the years, we've really been blessed. 2019, we were selected as Retailer of the Year by Topps, which was a huge honor to receive. Then I also have worked with eBay as an authenticator and consultant for them at one of their live events out in LA, and they even got to feature me in their national advertising campaign about the sports card industry. So it was an honor to represent the sports card industry, to promote it on eBay in their national ads. But when you talk about PSA, you talk about PSA grading, I go way back with them as well. Back in 1998, I saw the future, and I was like, this makes sense. This is needed in the hobby. So in 1998, we became not just a submitter to PSA, we actually signed up to be an authorized dealer to represent PSA, and we started taking submissions for customers 23 years ago. Now, we have submitted thousands and thousands of cards over the years. However, I can tell you, I got my paperwork because I don't want to get this stat wrong. From March 2020 through March 2021, we submitted more cards to PSA than we had in the previous 22 years combined.
It's incredible. Not only submitted more cards, but probably multifold
probably so.
Over 22 years.
Yes. And now here's the really staggering stat. We're going to talk about the PSA timeline today and the shutdown, both earlier this year and what we look at going forward. So as of March 31st, when they shut down most services early this year, we had, just got this data pulled up, we had 98,787 cards sitting at PSA. Then over the last 6 months, they've made sizable progress in getting those back to us, as you know, because you check them in. And believe it or not, since March 31st, we have seen 35,613 returned to us in the last 6 months. So in total, that's 36% of our company's backlog has been returned in the last 6 months. So that's the good news. So
how does that relate to maybe going forward and how long it'll take basically to get through the backlog?
Yeah. So again, I'm only using our data, our actual numbers, as a snapshot of the industry. So we currently have 63,174 cards still sitting at PSA that were there March 31st. So, of course, even the progress they've made, which is tremendous, they've made that progress by shutting down most services. Of course, March 31st, for those who are really brand new to the hobby, PSA had shut down everything except for Super Express and higher levels, and then they opened up Express, and then just recently they lowered the price on Express by $50 a card. And I know since that happened, we have seen a dramatic increase in submissions. I walked in today, we just got some mail in. We had a customer send us, I believe it was 197 cards that he was asking for PSA service on now that they have come down on Express. So I've thought about it, I'm like, that was just, there's still, hard cost is $150, and that's not including grading, shipping, insurance, back and forth, and so forth.
Right.
So we're at $170. That includes our pre-screening, returning the card to the customer, all in, everything back and forth. So even at that price drop, we're seeing a dramatic increase in the volume of people sending stuff to us.
So imagine maybe between now and a year's time, they drop another level.
Right.
Imagine what that would do to submissions to PSA.
Exactly. And so what I thought about, again, let's go back to that number, 63,174 still sitting there. That's after they've had 6 months to clean that up. So if they maintain that same pace of cleanup, just for us as an example, it will still be a full year
from this point
before those are caught up. But what we're not talking about is there's two other big factors in play. As those levels keep coming down, more and more submissions are going to get sent. So imagine what's going to happen if they drop to $125 or $100.
If that same level of increase happens, then they're going to be getting close to receiving too many submissions against their outgoing slabs every day. And I know when president of PSA said his goal was to get those two level.
Right.
And
Nat Turner's his goal is, I believe what he's discussed, is that he'd love to see inflow and outflow hit an equal point. Right now they've got a whole lot of backlog to get out.
Right.
So they're not taking as much in, but eventually they want to get to that point where it's balanced. So let's talk timelines. And I'll probably get myself in trouble here because every time we make guesses, every time we make predictions, there's no way to land it right because PSA doesn't even know what it's going to be. But we get asked all the time, when can I grade my PSA for $100? When can I grade my PSA for $75? Whatever. So again, we talked about the first factor in play is
reducing
how quickly do they come down the ladder. So let's look at it. March 31st was the shutdown. for most services. Then they did Super Express and now Express, and they lowered Express. So we're 6 months later now in early October, and the cheapest direct service is still at $150, not including shipping, not including insurance and everything. So, and we're already seeing that dramatic increase. So let's take a wild guess at it and say maybe by the end of the year, maybe they land at $100, $100 and a quarter, or something like that. You can imagine the volume increase of submissions they'll see at that point. So we're talking end of the year. Possible.
But then that might impact their ability to get the backlog.
Exactly. So, and let's be clear, Doug, because I think we've had some misunderstanding. There is no one in this industry who would rather see PSA get their pricing down, who wants to see that more than we do. You just heard the numbers of the volume that we do with PSA. And so we're very transparent about that. So there's no one who would rather see it happen quicker. However, we're trying to give our viewers a realistic viewpoint on the optimistic side. So
yeah, I like to see what has happened, not what we think is going to happen, but then give our best opinion as to what probably will happen.
All right, so we've hit the end of the year, and we're hoping they're at $100 to $110. All right, so that kicks into effect, say, the start of the year. So let's say they get a huge influx. They're still working on the backlog. Then let's give them 3 more months.
Right.
And that's
back to maybe April 1st.
Maybe April 1st. That was the big date. So let's say maybe April 1st they land at $75 or $80. So now, as I mentioned in our SGC video, a lot of friends in the industry have said to me their prediction is when they get to that number, whenever that is, they're going to have such a volume coming in that it's going to take a long time to recover from what they're bombarded with. So, I agree with them that they're going to get a huge inflow there. But let's assume the best. Let's say they hit that $80 or $75 price point, and then in 3 months they can drop it to $50.
Okay.
And so where are we landing at?
We're in July, basically.
Yeah, June, July, whatever. And so in the middle of the summer. So we're hitting that $50 price point, and then you got millions of cards that are sitting on the sidelines where people go, it's time, It's time, I'm going to load them up. And so at that point, I have to stop making my predictions because I don't know. I've guessed, I've mapped this timeline out in my head the best I can guess based upon these numbers that we've already seen and based upon the words we're hearing from PSA. Now, Nat Turner has said publicly, he said he wants to see the day where they're in the 20s again, and I'm all for that, both as a collector and as a group submitter. I certainly hope they get there. I'm just trying to be realistic that it's gonna, as our friends say, it's gonna be a minute before they get there.
I agree wholeheartedly. I know none of us wants to see the PSAs at the higher level. We'd love to get all of our cards graded with PSA just the same way we did a year ago. But in all honesty, if it ever does get back to that level, Joe, I don't think that all of us are going to be too pleased with the industry at that point. I mean, it's just a difficult situation to imagine being able to submit cards at $20 and $30 level again with PSA where something else hasn't gone terribly wrong.
Yeah, I get your point, because you're saying your opinion, if I'm reading you right, is that for them to get to that point, it means submissions will have slowed down.
Correct.
That people aren't overall desire, yeah.
Or PSA slabs has slowed down, or for all slabs.
Yeah. So now the one factor we haven't talked about, though, is what if we know PSA is ramping up dramatically. We know they're continuing to hire. They're continuing to add space. And so what if they can scale to an unheard, unseen level that they've never experienced, and they can add hundreds and hundreds of graders and have the space for them to work? That's the one, I call that the wild card factor. We don't know how quickly they're adding, how rapidly they're adding space. training them, getting them up to speed, because they don't want the quality of grading to go down. They want to maintain the consistency they've had.
Absolutely.
So there's the one wild card. So we have to say, no matter what our speculations and predictions are, if they can ramp up faster and increase the volume they're processing, those timelines could be sped up. We're making predictions based upon the data we have for the last 6 months and the projections based upon that. But again, no one would be happier to see them speed up and us to be able to submit,
Well, that is a valid point. Honestly, if they had the people in place that are trained and get them to the point of graders, I don't think slabbing these cards has changed. I mean, yes, the cost has changed nominally over the plastic but in reality, it's just due to demand that the pricing I see has gone to where it has. It's all about demand, and I think that's a good thing.
Oh yeah,
I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I think you all should think it's a great thing because there is a lot of demand out there.
Yep. So, to sum things up, PSA continues to be the king of resale. In pretty much across all spectrums of the industry, with the one exception probably being BGS 10 black labels on modern cards. That's still the king on modern.
Well, true.
But they're so very rare.
I mean, you can look at individual cards, as we had said before. SGC and the Honus Wagner is the most highest priced card in the history of cards.
That has sold.
And, and then the Beckett of the Mike Trout card, one of the highest priced cards.
Yeah, the exquisite LeBron. Yeah, I mean,
there are definitely individual cards that this wouldn't apply to.
Right.
But as
a general rule of thumb
overall,
now. Yeah. When customers ask us who has the best resale, we can tell them right now in October of 2021, in general, the strongest resale is still PSA. In general, Beckett is typically the second, at least on the modern market. SGC is very strong. We were running a bunch of comps just yesterday on SGC Vintage, and SGC Vintage was very strong. There were some, of course, you can always find an example to make your argument if you look hard enough.
Absolutely.
But I found a number of SGCs because we've graded a lot of vintage. The high end, as you can see, all of this stuff recently came back with PSA, but we've also graded a lot of the mid-grade stuff with SGC, and you're seeing very similar comps there.
Well, Joe, I pull our sales of graded cards, and today I pulled a George Brett rookie in a CSG holder, and I pulled a Nolan Ryan 1970 in a CSG holder.
CSG or SGC?
CSG.
Okay, all right.
CSG. Uh-huh. And then also we had SGC vintage cards, several of them that we sold today. And the prices that I'm seeing for the vintage cards in either of those two holders is still strong. I still think it's a matter of supply and demand. The vintage cards, there's just not a tremendous supply of those cards out there.
Right.
Whether they're graded by CSG, SGC, or PSA. I think I think individually there's not as big a difference when you look at certain cards, but you can easily find examples of both ways. Half the price. I mean, I've looked up PSA comps, and on the same card, the same grade, I've seen a $100 spread on a $300 card before.
Exactly.
So it depends on which PSA comp you're looking at when you're comparing other grades.
Could be the centering. Could be,
if the
print
grade
quality,
is the same, well, and it's also the reseller as well.
Exactly.
Where the card comes from.
Right.
There's so many factors.
Yes.
It's just hard to nail down, even on the exact same card, why the price might vary a little bit over the other one. So I am not as concerned which holder the card is in, because I think all of the grading companies that we deal with are above average. Like, they're excellent at what they do. You may or may not like the visual look of a certain holder over another one, but I wouldn't say that the card inside those holders is graded either too severely or too leniently.
Right.
I think those cards have very good value, and if you're looking to buy cards right now, I'm not opposed to looking at the SGC and the CSG holders,
Right.
and the Beckett holders.
Exactly.
For sure. I think all of
That's
them.
why that's the only four we represent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you know, so final words to you today is PSA. We're very excited for the progress they're making, and kudos to Nat Turner and their team and the great progress. I mean, just us as a snapshot, they've made a huge dent in the backlog over the last 6 months. I believe they're going to continue to do that. We just got in, what, 600 or 700 just this morning.
We get them in every day, just about. You can just tell that they're digging into it. As a matter of fact, they're digging into it to where we're now well under a year for our oldest.
Right.
And we're getting very close to being closer to the 10-month time frame.
Right.
Again, not every order out there is back that quickly.
But on average.
But we're digging into November and December, getting in orders as they, as we get them in. It's chipping away at it. It certainly is.
So, for those who, we've got two different audiences we're talking to today. We've got the collectors who maybe you're sitting with cards on the sideline and you say, I just want to put my card in a PSA holder and I'll wait till the price is right. And to you, if that's where you want it to land, then wait until the price is right. However, if you're a flipper, if you're just an investor, quick reseller, then I encourage you to explore other more affordable options such as CSG and SGC. As we've shared previously, we've seen a huge increase in demand for SGC grading through our group submittal service, not only for the pricing we offer, but also for the turnaround we offer, as customers are getting stuff back in about 6-7 weeks. So
very impressive.
Yes,
very impressive.
They've been able to maintain it. Yeah,
for sure.
And so if you are looking for an option that you want to get them graded from a reputable, respected company, get them back quickly, get them sold at a decent percentage, turn those dollars, keep turning those dollars over and over, rather than sitting on the sideline for the next 6 months or 9 months or a year, whatever that number is where you feel comfortable submitting to PSA again. I encourage you explore those other options. But whoever you choose, PSA, BGS, SGC, CSG, we can assist you with it. And if you don't know who to go with, we can even help you with that. We had a submission today where we're going to need the customer knows he's going to need some guidance as to where to go based upon the values, the resale, etc. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're trained to do, and that's what we love to do. So Lo dug up with some submissions this week so he can process your cards.
Yeah, submissions, graded card sales, I love it all. I'm so happy to be able to do it. Thank you, Joe, for allowing me to do that.
Yeah, lots of fun. And we've got more great content coming up for you soon. Please subscribe to our channel. Please share with a friend. And please comment below. We love to hear your feedback, positive or, as we call it, constructive criticism. That's okay too.
No, we don't want any of that. Just positive. That's all we want.
So, no, we appreciate you watching today, and we'll be back with more great content here on the Got Baseball Cards channel. And again, if you need help with grading, just visit our website, GotBaseballCards.com. Click on the service provider you would like to use, and let's get going with your graded card submissions. Thanks again, everybody, and we will see you next time.